Well, hello, everybody. I'm Huell House. Hi, I'm Huell House. Well, hello, everybody. I'm Huell House. Hi, I'm Huell House. Wait a minute. There's a helicopter coming here. Wait a minute. Oh, get out of here. Wow. Look. What is that? Let's get it out of here. Look at this. I thought what was my feet. Look at this. Oh, my God. And there they are, Louie, up there. That is an amazing sight to see as we continue our search for California's gold.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Huell's Gold, episode 73. I'm Chris.
I'm Allan.
And I guess we got to do full disclosure here.
What do we got?
Well, it's Tuesday.
What?
And so, Sunday... You know, what can I say? I had a barbecue at my house. We couldn't record. I mean, Allan was here, but as just like a patron.
Could have just recorded the
barbecue. Yeah. So we already had planned on doing it Monday. Whoopsie. I come home Monday morning, and Allan was all prepped, ready to go, had your notes done. I call him, my house is flooding. Yeah, so that's why we're a little late this week. What are you going to do?
Nothing. You can't predict that.
Shout out to Hometown Plumbing in Bakersfield, California. Saved the day. Showed up in 30 minutes. Rooted the heck out of my pipes. We're good to go.
Well,
but
we should... More disclosure, I guess, if you want to call it this.
Yeah.
We're going to try something a little different today.
We're doing it a lot these days.
For the show title,
uh-huh.
Which I had fun last week, too.
Oh,
by
yeah.
the way.
Mm-hmm. Guests are always fun. I mean, you heard literally me meeting someone that I've heard about for 15 years for the first time. Because, you guys walked in my house. 5 minutes later, we're recording. It's the first time I'm talking to Mike in my life.
And then, 3 or 4 minutes after we finish recording, it's already uploaded.
On
the way home, we just listened to it.
Even though I boofed the thing,
everything was auto-tuned?
Yeah, I made it all auto-tuned. Whoops.
Oh, man.
I fixed it, though.
But this week, we're doing something a little different. We're going to do 2 eps in
it's
one.
It's a twofer. 2 in 1.
It's a twofer.
And... it's funny that there is partially a Kern County thing in here. We normally make such a big deal out of about these,
which we have a little more. We have some
we have extras.
Info.
But honestly, when we were talking about this at the end of last week, we thought, how are we going to expect people to listen to a show about such little material? There's only so much kind of exaggerating and hoopla we can make out of this stuff.
That's true. And we were wondering about the philosophy of the show.
Yeah.
If you want to call it that. Huell can make something out of nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Lemonade from lemons, especially when the interviews are kind of got a little bit boring. But
dry.
Let's do dry.
Yeah.
Dry, yeah. Material's dry.
Uh-huh.
Huell made it great.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, hey, if Huell can do it, shouldn't we try to do that? And then we both looked at each other and we said, nah, at the same time. So we're going to just schlamy 2 into 1.
Yeah, so as you probably saw from the titles, first one is Camels and Bison, which is one of these weird ones where that's not the name of the episode that Huell says in the intro.
Right.
If I had to type all this out, iTunes would just reject the episode. Animals that aren't supposed to be here. So that's episode 1. That's what we're going to start with
here.
It's
a way better name
than Camels and Bison.
Think about how many... It's sort of clickbaity.
Yeah.
But, it's accurate.
Mm-hmm.
But what do they call it? Camel and Bison.
Camels and Bison.
Camels and Bison.
Mm-hmm. And then after that, we're going to San Juan Bautista. And it's just like a little town. There's the mission there, one of the 21 missions.
Right, that's named after Dave Bautista, right?
Dude, I was wondering, how fast are we going to get to a Batista joke? R.I.P. his wrestling career. I think he wrestled his last match at WrestleMania.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
That's sad. You gonna get a tattoo for it?
Another one?
In commemoration? Yeah.
No. Anyway, that is quite a quaint episode, but there's some dryness to it, literally and figuratively. It looks like a dry climate.
Yeah. So this might be front heavy on camels and bison.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. We'll just see how it works out.
Yeah,
We've never
we're
done it
flying
before,
by the seat of our proverbial pants.
Love it.
Yeah. So let's get started with first, it's odd, too, because it's camels and bison, but we're starting with the bison.
That's true. Well, technically, we're not starting with the bison, right?
Well, I mean, if we're going to get super technical, which you always do, what do we start with? Like, what's the cold open of camels and bison?
Okay, we got Jerry and Vicky from the Raptor Rehabilitation
There it is.
and Release Program in Thousand Oaks, which there are a few of these, so I don't know which one it is specifically.
The first one.
Let's go with the first one.
Okay.
And Jerry has a golden eagle
Yep.
who looks like it's whispering secrets to him most of the time. And Huell and Vicky got mule deer.
Like little mule deer fawns. Little Bambi-looking little deer-like things. I don't know what to say.
They're real small.
Yeah. And then Huell tries to feed this baby deer a bottle, and obviously has never done such a thing in his life because he's holding it upright, like the wrong way. And the deer kind of nuzzles his face a little bit in a very cute little way, but I think it was kind of like come on, bro. Get it together. Haven't you ever fed a mule deer before?
Use gravity.
But then we actually head to our real first destination.
Your favorite place
of all time. Let's go there now, yeah?
Yep.
You know, it's always fun to go to Catalina Island, especially when you're traveling by helicopter. Of course, Catalina is one of our state's channel islands, located about 26 miles off our southern shores. We were there during the springtime. Everything was green. And on this particular helicopter trip, our pilot gave us an extra treat, flying us all around the island, and then showing us one of the most spectacular sights you can imagine. Look, we went right over this ridge, and bam! You're looking straight down these sheer cliffs right into the ocean. Now, this is on the southwest side of the island and is known as the Palisades. But as beautiful as all this was, we weren't heading to Catalina for a sightseeing trip. We were in search of buffalo. That's right, buffalo. And when you look up buffalo in an animal book, you find them under bison. And you find out that in America back in the 1800s, they were almost exterminated by hunters. You also find out that buffalo were never roaming around in California. They're not supposed to be here. But we'd also heard there were over 200 of them on Catalina, and that they were descendants of historic buffalo, first brought to the island back in the 1920s. Question was, why were they brought here? Well, we hadn't been on the island 10 minutes before we found ourselves right in the middle of a Catalina buffalo controversy.
All right.
Bam! Right over those cliffs. The Palisades. Now, this is your favorite place you've never been.
Yep.
Catalina Island, which I don't get Catalina. Not saying I don't want to go or want to check it out, but I don't see the appeal. My mom used to go all the time, and I ask her, like, why? And she's like, I don't know, it's just real nice. Okay. I'm a doer, though.
It seems like there's something... Excuse me. There's something not otherworldly about it, but it just seems like you're not a part of the States. And I like being part of the States. But it's just a little different. I don't know.
Yeah,
different experience.
I get that.
That's all.
It's like your first step to go into Hawaii.
Right. And my uncle...
Let's try that. That was the second thing I was going to bring up.
My uncle?
Right?
Oh, yeah. The tragic story.
Yeah. The Black Swan?
The Black Swan. Reading a lot of Taleb lately.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was sailing out to Catalina Just totally died.
Big whoopsie.
Big whoopsie.
Whole family, or all but one?
So there was 2 kids, and then my aunt and uncle, Allan and Corrine, they died. And the kids had the only life vest, I think. So they ended up surviving.
Oh, the kids both.
Yeah, they were on a piece of something in a
Titanic
life vest
style?
Yeah. Well, with a life vest. So they at least had double
Yeah,
insurance there. Yeah, so they never found his boat or them. And I ended up being named after him.
Yeah, that's your namesake uncle.
So I feel like I probably should I don't know. Should I be
We talked about
drawn
this
to
before
Catalina,
when
or
because remember there was the
discouraged from
episode
going?
with the Catalina boat races where they were racing back and forth. You either got to go, bees to the dub just like that,
Yeah.
slam it out there, or take it super safe, like
I want to go.
one of those big like ferry boats that never
Yeah.
crash ever.
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
why
go.
not, right?
get out there.
See, I want to go, but we like staying at Airbnbs. And everyone's house on Catalina looks like grandma's house.
I think that's the appeal of it.
It's like kind of fogey.
Well,
Accommodations.
What about hotels out there? I don't.
I never
Have you looked at it?
No, because I've always wanted to be like on the. Well, I guess maybe the hotel is on the water, but there are
That
really
seems
cool
likely,
villa-looking things.
Okay.
I don't know. It just looks like it's stuck in the 80s, but
The
grandma's house in the
1880s. Obviously, that's not even at all. Catalina is kind of just the set piece of why we're here. It's all about these dang old buffalo. Like, they're not supposed to be here.
That's right. They're not supposed to swim in the ocean.
That's for darn sure. As Huell gets on Catalina, he gets right into that buffalo controversy with... Okay, I definitely missed the names.
Patricia Moore
Yeah.
and Bruce Poncell.
Bruce, that's it. Okay. And this first little bit is totally dominated by... What's her name again?
Patricia.
Red cardigan Patricia. Because she's all about this movie thought. That the buffalo were brought here for the filming of a silent movie called Vanishing American. The Vanishing American of 1924. Because the newspaper talked all about it, the Catalina newspaper. But she's like, no go.
But she does say something that, well, the newspaper got it wrong. They said they were coming to film it.
Uh-huh.
But, I mean, technically, they could have been coming to film it.
Usually there's like a setup process before the cameras roll.
Right. 124, I don't know how it worked. But I was going to say, they could have just changed their mind.
Yeah.
It's not like they just lied about it and then everyone believed it.
Yeah.
It could have been, so the way that I took it, that she pitched it was, newspaper started peddling this myth and it stuck. It's like,
well, the buffalo got there somehow.
yeah, they're there.
So,
which this was another bit with Patricia. She says, "Oh, well, it's controversial if the buffalo came here for the filming of a movie or not." And there's just no other alternative
at all
story to it. I was waiting for the stories.
Yeah.
And I got,
Nothing.
they say it for the movie, but no. Okay.
Then why
Kinda
else?
hanging out, yeah.
To prove her point, she has a copy of The Vanishing American that they go inside the museum, the Catalina Island Museum, which is in the Grand Catalina Island Casino, which isn't a casino in the traditional sense. Which always, I'm not a gambler because I lose all the time, but casinos, like Vegas casinos, are very funny to me. Like, I really like going in and watching the gambler freaks in there.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. If it's not too sad.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm sure you've heard of those stats that every seat in a casino has been soiled at least one. Oh, you don't know?
Well, I guess that's dedication.
These gambling freaks that are like clinically addicted to gambling, they'll not give up their slot machine spots to the point of evacuation.
Yeah, that's trippy. There was,
And then it happens so much that every seat in there has probably had it at least once.
that is a trip. It's almost as much, the McDonald's touch screens.
Oh,
it was like 100% when I tested them. Fecal matter.
Yeah.
So, no, there was a lady in, I don't know where it was, Vegas or, I don't know. I remember going in, when I think about just gambling and sad gambling people, telling sad stories. Uncle's dead. This lady, I was going to use the restroom because Kathleen and I have this philosophy where when we go to a casino, we go straight to the arcade. Okay. One, because it's empty.
Yep.
It's fairly cheap, so the kids keep playing. And we know we're going to lose the money anyway. I don't derive.
That's good.
So we're going to have fun playing whatever game we want. Skee ball. I mean, that's one of our favorites. Whatever. Air hockey.
Yeah, okay.
We're sort of, we're basic that way.
Uh-huh. Ticket games.
Yeah.
Okay. You want as many Chinese
I also
finger
like playing
traps as you can get.
Silent scope.
Silent scope. Silent scope. Silent scope. If you know that game, you know what we're talking about.
Oh, man. Especially at a nickel arcade, you got to put in like
14.
14 nickels to play. But I was walking by this lady, and all you hear is, no, 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 no. Every time she would lose. And you could just tell. And I was just creating this whole story for her. It was the beginning of the month. And I'm guessing she's just blowing all of her money for the month on this.
Yeah.
Anyways, super sad. But this is not that kind of casino. So
no, not at all.
We don't have to.
But in the casino, we do go in, we watch the movie, and it's obvious from what they're showing us is that this is like Utah, Arizona, Southwest, Monument Valley kind of looking scenery that they filmed this in, not Catalina whatsoever. And it's funny that, this is 1996. They needed some help getting the VCR going, I guess. So there's like the VCR attendant lady that's there.
So excited.
She has heard this spiel from Vicky. I cannot remember. Is that her name?
Yeah, Vicky. No. Vicky was the first person with the...
That's true. What's this lady?
Patricia. Call her Pat. Call her Pat.
It's my grandma's name. Why can't I remember
what?
This?
Pat. There you go. Grandma Pat.
Yeah. Just the look on her face is just like, get it going, Pat. God, I know. It's not here. I get it. Okay, let's go.
I wish Huell would have just microphoned to the lady. It's so funny.
And the whole time there's Bruce back there that obviously like has an opinion too, but Patricia is just completely hogging the mic time.
Yeah.
And Bruce, in fact, doesn't even. He's not gonna mess around, right?
Mm-mm.
He's not staying in a museum.
No. He's gonna hop in a Jeep Wrangler.
Right. Let's go see these dang buffalo right now.
Yeah, he's gonna let walk the walk. I don't know. Patricia talks the
Jesus
talk.
Take the wheel. No, I don't know. That's the idea anyway. Bruce is like, let's get in here. Let's go see these dang old things. And Huell, I don't know how long they were in this Jeep. Seems like maybe a while.
Huell's getting a little
impatient.
Yeah.
Because he says something like, I hope our viewers are sticking around with this because this is a long build-up. And, he ain't lying. It's a long time before they finally seem to get up to the top of this mountain. On top of a mountain on an island to find some buffalo that aren't indigenous to the island whatsoever.
That's
what more is there?
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, did you notice that Huell, though, when Louis was outside the Jeep, when they're driving by, he just gives a wave?
Yeah.
And then acts serious, like, oh, I didn't see Louis. We're just driving.
Even though they had to spend an hour setting that shot up to do it. That's what I always think about. Some of these shots that Louis would set up is, he had the idea. Him or Huell had the idea of, okay, I'm in the backseat, you're in the front, do the interview. And then at one point, one of them said, why don't you drop me off, back up, and then drive by and I'll pan. And, I'm sure it maybe only took 10 minutes, but still,
he saw it. He made it happen.
He saw it, and then Huell also, he's waving at the camera, but then acting like he...
Oh, just
it's
cruising.
His whole performance. It's so funny. That's the kind of aspect of this show that kind of gets lost in the shuffle, is that there was planning and setup and cinematography going on.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it was just seat of the pants. Just get it if you can get it. Like when they finally do find the buffalo about 10 minutes in, and homeboy's just dirt bathing it. Like they're acting all scared. Oh, this buffalo. Wait, is it gonna charge? It just lays down. So once they get here, is there much? Did you get anything much on like?
Not too much. We talked to Herman or Hernan.
I heard Herman Saldana.
Herman Saldana. He's the Catalina Island buffalo expert. Which is
how you get that job, I don't know.
Really, the only thing that Huell can't believe is that the bison,
it's true,
basically take dips in the ocean. And he's just having a hard time imagining what that would look like.
Really? They go to the beach, huh? And obviously, like, he had to get some sort of proof because they cut to a still, probably from the museum or something, of the buffalo at the beach.
To be fair, that is a weird thing to think about.
When you see it, it's at about 11 minutes, 30 seconds. It is a odd view of this buffalo standing, like dipping its toes, like it's searching for sand dollars. It's a weird shot. But, you know, this kind of makes sense that Huell would, one, want to go to Catalina just for the fun of it, do this whole story, and realize, like, oh, well, once we see these dang things, like, what am I
It was
do?
a big buildup.
Yeah.
Well, I will say, it's an interesting site, though. But
yeah. And, I mean, they say that tour buses get up there. I don't know how, because when you watch from, like, 10 minutes to 12 minutes, the drive up, it's a steep little road. I would not want to be in a tour bus going up that road.
No. I want a personal ride with Bruce.
Or that helicopter ride that Huell got to do in the beginning. The BAM! Palisades.
That would be fun. See, it'd be fun if you took a helicopter ride there, gave you a loop-de, and then dropped you off.
Yeah. Good enough.
And, I don't know.
That's it.
That's literally it.
Speaking of good enough, that's the end of this good enough segment, and we're moving back on land to our home county,
KC.
the jewel of the grapevine, Fort Tejon. Let's hear why.
Leaving our Catalina Buffalo friends behind and continuing our search for animals that aren't supposed to be here, we next headed north on Interstate 5. Our destination, Fort Tejon State Historic Park, about 65 miles north of Los Angeles in Grapevine Canyon. Now, we were visiting Fort Tejon in search of camels. Now, this has to be one of the most bizarre, unusual, and colorful chapters out of California's history book. Because even though we all know camels are supposed to live in Asia, North Africa, and the Middle East, some camels called California home for a few years back in the mid-1800s. It was all part of something the U.S. Army called the Great Camel Experiment, and it was a doozy.
You darn tootin' it was a doozy.
It's funny the way you pronounces Fort Tejon.
Fort Tejon.
My father-in-law, he's joking. He always calls it Fort Tejon.
I've said that as a kid. I remember doing that.
What is the Tejon Pass?
So this is the first time Huell is doing some cosplay, I think.
Well, no.
No? Oh, that's right. Say it.
Wait, in Fort Ross?
Man, there's more than one.
And then the buried treasure.
That was the one I was going to talk about. Yeah. So, cut to Fort Tejon. Huell and Sean Malice are hanging out at the fort in Civil War garb, reenactment stuff. I don't know if it's actually Civil War, but that's the era in which we're in, give or take. During this whole Camel Corps experiment.
Yep.
So, as history freaks as we are, specifically like our own local history, we've heard this camel story to the bone.
So
death.
many times.
It's a colorful little thing, and it happened near here. And one of the main kind of boosters of the whole thing was Edward Beale, who is one of our native heroes.
Yes.
So the Camels are very familiar to us. I mean, what do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 sources sitting around us with basically the same story that Sean tells throughout the whole thing. There's not like a lot of new information about this.
Really, it's just the different perspective on it, or the potential success. That's the only thing that changes between the sources. But let's talk about old Sean for a little bit.
Yeah. Did you find anything on him? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Because what's his title on it? He's the part of the Fort Tejon Living History.
Right. When he did write a book, as far as I can tell. It's out of print right now. Let me see what the name of this guy is. It is Fort Tejon, 1854 to 1864.
Okay. Like specifically the camel days.
Yes. Has one review, 5 stars.
Dude, you can tell this homie knows his stuff.
No. Got a review here. This book was not authored by Sean.
What?
Mm-mm. It's a compilation of short essays.
Oh, so he's just a contributor.
He's an editor on it.
Oh, I gotcha.
So he edited a book, whatever.
Still cool.
Very cool.
More than we've done.
So he's actually like a client services director. He's left California State Parks.
Oh. That's kind of a shame. He was so good at this.
He was very good.
Because he can throw out information, because there's kind of a long, drawn-out history of this whole camel story that he's able to just spout out.
Mm-hmm.
But where'd he go?
He is at he moved to Santa Barbara, which is where he's from.
Okay.
And he's at Anacapa Estate Planning and Elder Law. He's a client services director.
I see him as like just, wearing his suit at his job, but deep down he's got that Fort Tejon camel blood running through him.
It's funny, it's Elder Law, so maybe he's doing like an oral history of
Oh, maybe.
I don't know. Who knows, for his own personal history. But no, he spent over 25 years working for the California State Parks as a state park interpreter. So he got his bachelor's degree from CSU Long Beach, and he is a credentialed social studies teacher.
So I got something in common with him.
That's right. He is still a board member of Old Spanish Days, and he's an active member of the Association for Senior Care.
Okay.
So
you must have found his LinkedIn or something.
No, I found his profile on the actual Elder Law.
Oh, okay.
It looks like someone with his last name is the lawyer, so I'm guessing it probably is his wife.
Perhaps.
So or sis,
okay.
Whatever.
Definitely don't want to just retell the story. This is one you should hear Sean tell. Some of the highlights, though, of the Camel Corps experiment is Edward Beale kind of was put in charge of this thing and was one of its proponents, because it was an experiment to bring camels to the United States to use as beasts of burden. So old Bealey boy took them from Texas through the Southwest to Fort Tejon and back. Lots of stuff happened. None of them died during that time, right?
Right. Well, there's a reason why they wanted to connect, though, because they thought California was going to be established as an independent territory. And this was during the crucial years of the North and South were, how do they say this, getting along very well.
No.
So they wanted to connect the East to California, so you needed something that could, traverse the buck wild Southwest.
And this was their idea to do it. I guess the jury is out on whether this was a success or a failure. It's all about the perspective. Some of the things that we read here from like our Inside Historic Kern, what's the guy's name that?
Richard Bailey.
Yeah, Richard Bailey contributed some stuff, and you read something you found in the CSUB library about it. Mm-hmm. He seemed to be of the effect that this was more of a
basically the Civil War put the kibosh on it.
Yeah, it might have been a success if it hadn't have been for the big ol' whoopsie that was the Civil War. Well, depending on the side you think. Could be a whoopsie, could have been a almost got him. Either way, the story of what happened to the camels is more interesting to me. Because once the U.S. government was like, okay, we done with these camels, there were like 30-something of them. They're like selling them to circuses, and then some of them get let loose in the Southwest and create this myth of these American camels.
My favorite use of them is that old Eddie Beale kept 2 for himself. Yeah. And he would go
down the grapevine.
He had a little carriage behind him, and he would do Old Ridge Route.
Yeah.
To L.A. with 2 camels.
I can only imagine. I guess, well, in the thing that Bailey wrote, I guess nothing brought out people in L.A. To like see a parade entering the city than the camels being driven in by Edward Beale.
It's funny.
Everyone's like, I mean, to put that in perspective, because I watched a whole thing on the history of the circus and how seeing exotic animals,
like the circus in general, or is it?
Just circus in general, and seeing exotic animals when you live in Bumpkinville, Kansas, like that's going to be the story of your lifetime. Seeing a tiger and other things, because
yeah, for sure,
those things being brought to you is the only way you're ever going to see it. So when you're in L.A. in 1851 or whatever, seeing some crackpot dude who's actually like a California history legend riding camels in, take a look.
Yeah, it's pretty trippy.
To put Edward Beale in perspective, though, homeboy was Commissioner of Indian Affairs, was one of the better commissioners who kind of started the process of getting at least California Indians to have resources given to them to allow them to live a more prosperous life.
Right.
There is the fact that he was the person tasked with bringing the gold found at Sutter's Mill to the East Coast, essentially starting the actual physical gold rush. There were newspapers talking about it. He brought gold, said, "Hey, bro, look, here it is. Let's go."
And I'm trying to. You're right. Like I'm trying to think if it's Edward Beale. Do you remember when Hart Park? It had a zoo, and then the exotic animals left the zoo. Was it? I know there was someone famous in town who kept a few of the exotic animals.
I don't know for sure. I mean, based on what we're hearing about him keeping these camels, yes.
Okay.
Let's go with it.
And I could totally be wrong about all this. So
it's too deep of a thing to have to look up right now.
It is super deep.
We
have to go to,
Speaking of keeping camels, though, to get back to the actual episode, there are no camels like every day hanging out at Fort Tejon anymore. But there was one for this show.
Right, and there was a rare species known as Sled Reynolds.
Rare species. He is
just an interesting person.
Yeah, he's the camel owner. He owns a camel. He brought it to the fort for this episode and this little cosplay day, this like reenactment day they're doing.
Cosplay.
This dude's name is Sled.
Yeah.
Sled Reynolds. It's his camel is the little tag under him.
So did you find anything on old Sled?
I typed it in, and of course nothing comes up because it just wants to like sell you sleds and stuff.
So he is actually, it's the same guy, which I don't know anyone else named Sled Reynolds.
Who else?
He is an animal wrangler for movies like Hollywood.
That makes total sense, though.
Like The Life of Pi, the real tiger.
Yeah,
think Sled.
I mean,
is it think or think?
Think Sled. No, it makes total sense that they would like hire an animal wrangler from Hollywood to come up to Fort Tejon and
Well, the trippy part is if you catch it, he's from there.
That's right.
He went to
grew
school
up
there.
in the little Fort Tejon area there.
So he's one of these Kern County people that they get left off the radar, whether because it's always professional athletes. Okay, it's great. Professional skateboarders, it's great. But these are the kind of people.
Don't sleep on Sled.
No, don't sleep on Sled.
So, Sled's slaying it. But there's something that happens because Huell is kind of talking about the camel, and there's part of the history of the camel smell being something that freaked out the horses and the mules. And it's just such a funny thing that the horses and mules were so freaked out about the camels that they would run away. And that's part of why they consider it maybe a failure.
Well, and that guy, remember the guy who was, when he was asked what he thought of the camel, he was
the guy who was
I think in character.
Totally in character, yeah.
Right.
Of course. Unless he was a time traveler. That's the only other option.
Yeah, so he had a good, I think, representation on how people felt about him.
But Huell kind of gets into the sights and smells and sounds of things, and I cut the clip out. We just have to play this because it's so insane.
Let's do it.
Okay.
There is a smell to this camel, isn't there?
Sure, she has a distinctive smell.
And there is a look and a noise.
Yeah,
that they
she'll make a noise.
Whoa!
She'll make a noise.
Oh my gosh!
Here, push down.
Oh goodness!
That's the way they rest. That's the way they rest. That's the way, if you're going to saddle them.
Oh my gosh!
So, Huell's not. He's not excited about this dang thing. Did you know that camels' mouths could open so wide?
I didn't until I got the screenshot.
Yeah. Check out our Instagram for that screenshot. When I saw it on the screen, I'm like, if Allan didn't get this, I don't even know if we can continue this show.
You know I got it.
After that, Sled hands the camel back over to Huell. Huell's kind of just standing there getting the rest of the story that we kind of already talked about from Sean. And then these ladies come up and feed it what looks like the tops of carrots.
Yeah.
I guess Bolthouse was on.
You went to Bolthouse, not Grimway?
Well, Bolthouse, was it Bolthouse or Grimway who invented the baby carrot?
Grimway.
Okay, then yeah, I'm just saying the wrong one. That's the one I meant.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, Bolthouse is a big carrot producer too.
Mm-hmm.
There's two things here. Okay, first, when old Sean is telling the rest of his story, he says, they were only active for 10 months? I forget exactly.
Yeah.
The specific time. But they were on the property for 4 to 5 years. Did you notice what Huell said?
No. Well, probably.
He said, to see how they wanted to get rid of it, they were here for 4 or 5 years. And Huell says, and we know how hard it is to get rid of government property. So we kept it another 4 or 5 years?
What do you make of that?
I think that he's probably commenting on bureaucracy. It's a little slow.
Yeah.
Maybe it's an understatement. But
privatization is the way to go for Huell-Hauser?
I don't know about that, but I think he's just a little poking
at
it. But Sled, what he said about the camels when he was raised there or went to school there, the teachers would threaten to strap the kids to a camel and send them out to the remote parts of Fort Tejon or Tejon Ranch or whatever.
Yeah.
Is this something that you would advocate?
Seeing as I'm going to get in the teaching profession,
is this in a what approach is this to teaching?
I mean, if you're, I'm going to try and be a history teacher, so to bring in history, bring in some content. If you're going to threaten some consequences of behaviors,
or you could just talk about people talking about it.
There you go.
Yeah, I like that approach.
Just to remove yourself one step from it. But that's the end of the camel story.
That's it.
And that's the end of this first episode. What was it? Episode 709. Camels and Bison, a.k.a. animals that aren't supposed to be here. And normally we would, super off-key say, stay with us next time. But We're slamming.
Let's just ride the proverbial camel to the next location.
And that next location, the title of episode 710, San Juan
Dave Bautista.
So here's how it goes.
It's a town steeped in history and lots of colorful characters and stories. From the very earliest days, San Juan Bautista was a special place, kind of on and off the beaten track. These days, it's the same way, because it's not that far off the main highway. But somehow or another, it's managed to capture and keep its charm and small-town California feel. Even though tourists come through in pretty good numbers, the pace here is slow. This is a town filled with sights to see. And the centerpiece of the town is the beautiful, historic old San Juan Mission.
All right. There are a few things here.
Yeah.
So, first, Huell tells us about, he sort of stumbled upon this.
Yeah, he's on vacation in Monterey.
Decided to take an exit and just kept driving.
That's such an old school thing to do. Like,
It didn't.
pre-GPS, got your AAA map. Oh, what's that?
Well, there was something else that I thought was interesting about the story. Huell says that he was vacationing in Monterey.
Yeah.
Our guy here, he takes vacations in California.
Of course. That's what... Okay. I kind of am gathering this over the years, or the year and a half now of doing this and really breaking this guy down, is that one, sadly, he was kind of a lifelong loner. But that he would go on trips by himself, sometimes to do... It seemed like sometimes to do research, maybe, or to... like revisit a place that he went to do a show and get like a longer time there or something. Mm-hmm. But because there's the episode of the San Luis Lighthouse in Avila Beach in Central California, and he talks about how that's like one of his favorite places to go and that he goes there a lot. And he does a lot of shows from there. But I think Homeboy was just hanging and banging in Slow County
All the time?
a lot. Yeah.
Well, I guess what I was thinking was that out of all the places in the world, right, that you could afford to go to, he chose another spot in California, which is sort of how I feel. I don't know if anyone else feels this way, but when we look at vacations, there's so much in the state, or in our state, in California, that I almost don't want to go anywhere. How do you feel about this?
Well, seeing as I did a week-long California road trip last summer, obviously I'm in that camp too.
Right.
I mean, we're going to Oklahoma this summer, so we do like going to other places, but...
Right, when you're visiting family, I mean, things like that. But if you're choosing a vacation, we'll always look at other places. And we have been other places. But there are parts in California I have I've never been to.
You were talking about you and Kathleen want to do like a northwestern California exploratory trip.
Like deep. Yeah.
Deep in the trees.
Because Southern California, okay, we're pretty good. Right? And so the eastern part of California we want to explore more. And also the deep north.
Yeah. Get high up there. You know what I mean? Even though you're straight edge. So it's cool that Huell does this. It's cool that he goes to these places and checks this stuff out. I mean, San Juan Bautista, it is a mission city. So it's not totally off the beaten track.
Right.
And that's like, where we're going to start. Is this the first time that we go to a mission in the show?
No.
What was it? I could not remember.
You went to it in
La
fourth grade.
Purisma. Yeah. Why were we there?
I don't know, but the ranger played us an authentic Spanish tune.
Yeah. I can't remember the context of the episode, but yeah, that was the first one. It's amazing how, no pun intended, that he was able to go so long with only going to a handful of missions.
Right.
Because it's such a California-y thing. And he definitely goes to a lot of towns that have missions in them. Oh, he goes to the San Luis Obispo mission for like a split second.
That's right.
Bob and Wendy are singing the theme in
That's
like
right.
episode 2 in front of the San Luis Obispo mission.
But still, I mean, for how central they are to California's history, yeah.
And this is pretty in depth with our homeboy Eddie, right?
Right. What I think is interesting about San Juan Bautista is that the other mission cities, right? There's Ventura, San Luis,
Santa
Barbara, right? These turned into actual cities.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking to you about this before we started watching it, that this entire city, my lady Jane Jacobs, she talks about cities that are kind of like this.
Yeah.
Where you sort of decided that this will never be a city. And we get to talk to a realtor and then a person later.
It
but
makes
this
total
is
sense.
This is literally, she calls it taxidermy, which is what they want. It's what they wanted from the city, but I think it's interesting to compare it to somewhere like Santa Barbara or San Luis.
So that taxidermy
or Ventura.
line, you read me that quote earlier, and it makes sense to me, where basically you're preserving the city for preservation's sake.
Yeah.
Like, we don't want it to change. We want everything to stay the same, to have this glimpse of history, but that doesn't allow the town itself to evolve the way towns want to do.
Right, and this is always the tension in historical preservation.
Yeah.
That, it's serving the preferences for those that like, how would you say that? To preserve the ultra-authentic history of something.
Yeah.
Whereas in other
Which
towns...
is so funny when they really get into it. So much has changed of it.
Yeah.
Like, even this mission, like the bell tower story that Reverend Eddie Fitzhenry, the head, father of the mission, talks about how much that bell tower has changed.
Well, and it's funny how that's the thing about like culture and history and cities is that it's open-ended, right? The whole process.
Mm-hmm.
So what if they had, city zoning back then and said, well, you have to build the same New England bell tower. Don't do it. Don't change it. It wouldn't be history. So it's one of those interesting things. It's sort of, I don't really know what to think about it, but I mean, well, I kind of do, but
Yeah.
But we were talking about how Kern County is a little different with how we go about. There is historic preservation, and there are people who kind of go over the top, I think.
Oh, yeah.
And they just want to preserve things just for the sake of preserving, even though
Some of them are in the historical society of town, and like there's a place for it. I don't think it should be 100%,
right.
But because the example that I think of when you bring up that is there was, I say was, a pretty historic boxing and wrestling venue called the Dome in Bakersfield for many, many years. Last year it got torn down for no reason. Basically, it's still just a dirt lot a year later. Right. And the Historical Society was trying to keep it basically for its historic value. Obviously we're a little biased about wrestling, so I knew its wrestling history and wanted it to stay as well. But then, is there going to be there were still wrestling shows in it, maybe once every 2 years or so, but it's not like there's going to be this resurgence of local wrestling in Bakersfield like there was in the 70s.
Right.
So I get it.
And this is one of those things that'll strike a nerve with people. Some people, you want to tear down the historic things. It's like, that's not what we're saying at all. But it's an interesting tension that exists there. Because we've had places in town, if you look up something called the 1800 in town.
That was our first example, yeah.
Yeah. This is what you brought up, the 1800. It used to be a bank building, right? It was a bank building in the 1910s.
And there's this big story in town how it was all stuccoed over. They started chipping away at it, and they find this cool facade. And they figure out the whole history of that it was the bank building and everything. Mm-hmm. And what do we do with it?
Now, it's brand new, so the jury's still out. But when we went to eat there,
oh, you did go?
Yeah,
I didn't know you went.
Yeah, it was great.
Okay,
Awesome.
We'll talk about this off mics.
Yeah,
because the desserts look insane. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
We're not sponsored by them or anything either.
No.
So it's one of those things.
I mean, if you down, we down,
Yeah.
I'll take a milkshake.
Because we brought this up really Bakersfield. I can say Kern County, but it's really Bakersfield. We do it a little different. No, it is Kern County. I'm mistaken on that. We have our own, the Kern County Museum.
Yeah.
that you were mentioning, we take the structures and we bring them and make our own little historic city.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be in the living space of the city just to be preserved.
Which is another discussion, because someone might say, well, it is inherently. But anyways, I think what's interesting is that the tension, or like how people approach it differently, how cities approach it differently. But yeah.
And more recent, it's funny because there's only so many buildings that can fit at the Kern County Museum. It is our old fairground, so it's a bunch of acres.
Right.
But there's a ton of buildings there already. So the more recent thing that has been cropping up is our neon museum. Because Bakersfield had a lot of interesting old neon signs in front of these buildings, and they started going. And the museum started snatching them.
The museum, I think the museum also has some stuff, right? 'Cause didn't they take Amistoys? Anyways, they have a few
that one
signs.
just debuted last week.
Because they
There's
even
an old
have,
bar in town.
This is a little off topic. I mean, in terms of the neon signs, but the what was his name? The guy who started the Padre Hotel. He built it.
I can't remember.
And then he hated City Hall, so he built a fake missile and aimed it at City Hall.
Uh-huh. He's
They
painting
have-
messages on the side of the building and stuff.
Yeah, they have the faux missile there.
Yeah.
So these are the. I'm just saying. I think it's getting what you're talking about. It's the history can't. That type of museum is super cool. It's not a bunch of tiny. What do you want to call that? Collectible things that you look at in a glass case. It's actually something you can walk through. The old courthouse. The old.
Exactly. Yeah. But I guess the whole deal with San Juan Bautista is that a lot of it has been preserved in place. The town itself is kind of a historic park unto itself. Because, I mentioned the bell tower and how it was. What did you say? It was a Victorian? Is that what they said?
New England.
New England bell tower that did not fit the period. They did 3 different ones, but I guess for the movie Vertigo that Alfred Hitchcock did, he saw the old pictures of the New England one and wanted to film in it. Turns out it was gone and changed, so he had to build his own. But they did film Vertigo, part of Vertigo, in the San Juan Bautista mission.
But the pickle was he had to look like he was running upstairs.
Yeah.
In the mission, but then
There weren't any.
Yeah.
But, the first, what'd you say, half of this episode is the history of this mission. And I appreciate the California missions, a little bit controversial about certain aspects of it. But as far as, historical preservation, it's cool that they pulled this off. Mm-hmm. As a state, we did it. And we have them all. Now, Eddie gives us a lot of information about this mission.
Do you want to just... What do you want to do? What do you want to do with this?
I want to just let Eddie do it. Go watch it if you want to hear Eddie do it.
Just give the highlights then. There is a cemetery with 3,000 bodies, right?
Unmarked.
And he tells us how they fit them in there. For me, I've always thought, I think this was on Reddit. I saw this. It was, if you bury bodies, why don't people just bury bodies vertically to save space? That's all I was thinking. I thought he was going to drop we buried the bodies vertically. But you'll have to watch the episode if you want to see actually how they got that many bodies in a small plot.
But there's lots of little architectural pieces that he points out and the history behind those.
And my favorite part of this is how he describes how they survived all the rumbles.
Is that what he called them?
Earthquakes. So
did you hear there's an earthquake here?
Yeah.
On Sunday?
In Oildale, right?
No, it was the deep east side.
Was it? I thought it was in Oildale.
No, over in where, maybe there were 2, but a 3.5er, right, almost directly underneath where our friend Matt used to live, where he just moved from 2 months ago.
Uh-huh.
Lucky he got out when he did. I mean, nothing fell over, but,
right. Just imagine the Isabella Dam breaks or something.
Whoops. He'd be the first to get flooded.
Oh, he would, huh?
He's that far east.
But if you have a house on the bluffs right there on Panorama, you could have a lakefront view.
There you go.
That'd be nice.
Then we're going to have to do some different kind of wells for the drilling there.
Oh, that's true, huh? Well, okay, so yeah, we see the architectural gems.
Mm-hmm.
Got a Reredos. I'm saying that horribly, but
I couldn't really. I wouldn't have been able to pronounce it either.
Reredos.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a backdrop in a Catholic church, designed by a Boston boy. Huell has a hard time with the word, so I don't feel alone.
No, yeah.
And we get to see the original church.
The original church that they built while they were building the big boy church.
Well, I thought there was something that you were going to say, how in the original sanctuary, there was actually Native American scribbles on the wall, but it's been whitewashed.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess in the original church there was they allowed the Native Americans to do artwork on the walls there, but that had since been painted over. But they found some that was whitewashed. Yeah,
someone
But Eddie mentions that they are going to recreate it. I wasn't able to find if they have recreated that yet. If any of you live in San Juan Bautista or have visited, let us know if they did redo the Native American artwork in the original church. Speaking of living in San Juan, I looked up some stats. I got the not the demographics, but at least the population.
All right.
How many people you think live in the town?
5,200.
Try less than 2,000.
Less than 2,000?
Yeah. As of 2016, the estimated amount was like 1,961 or something like that.
Did you see like a change in population?
It's been the slowest, normalest, tiniest growth. Started with like 400, went up to 2,000 now. It's weird.
Yeah. Well,
what are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
So the mission, again, if you want to hear the whole story from Father Eddie, you should definitely go check that out. It's the whole first half of the episode, but we're going to slam on, yeah?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, part 2.
Now, there's another aspect to San Juan Bautista beside the mission. There's the mission over there, but over here is this wonderful old Plaza Hotel, and I'm standing here with Ranger Nick Franco. This is a state historic park.
That's right. It's a state historic park, and this was related to the mission originally. So the bottom floor here started out actually as the soldiers' quarters.
And that's about it. You want to move on to part 3?
Now, Nick Franco, that was hard. I didn't know where to cut that clip because he just took one big breath at the beginning and just blasted information for 5 minutes.
And we figure out why. Because old Nick had been there about a month.
Yeah. He was definitely trying to get through his probationary period during this day. But yeah, I mean, as a whole, the mission grounds also function as a state historic park because of the California history aspect of the area. It's like the Spanish history is there, and then Mexican and California history is right in the same little plaza, hence the Plaza Hotel.
Mm-hmm.
Up it went. You know, again, that's why we're doing 2 and 1. Did you catch any little tidbits of his talk? I got one thing.
Okay, let's hear it.
Okay, so he's talking about how cool it is that you can just go in the park, you see the mission, the Plaza Hotel.
That's what triggered actually me thinking about the city this way.
Okay.
That's funny you say that.
Well, he's talking about like, seeing all these historic buildings. Like, it's so great. They're all here. They're historic. It's so great. But the grass in the middle of the plaza, that's not historic. That's where all the bear and bull fights were back in the day. Now, were bears and bulls fighting together? Or were like this separate, like people fighting bears, people fighting bulls, bears and bulls on a tag team against 2 dudes? Like, I want to know more about this. And then Nick, James Franco's brother Nick, forgets to tell us what the heck a bear and bull fight is.
I feel like that should have triggered Huell's,
You'd think. He just let it flow. He just let it flow right on by. Didn't even care.
Well, before we go,
okay,
Nick is now, as of 2015, he is the director of San Luis Obispo's Department of Parks and Recreation.
No way.
Yeah, so he made a big time.
Big boy job. So, I'm trying to think if I've ever been to a park in San Luis Obispo. No. Well, there is the little kind of park-ish area by the creek in front of the mission. I've been to... there's a moon tree.
There's
there.
a rose garden.
Yeah. I haven't been there, but I know what you're talking about.
We stayed at Morro Strand, whatever. We camped there. Mm-hmm. And there's a little on the way back across from Cuesta. Or at least right by Cuesta.
Is it San Luis Obispo County Parks and Rec?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. So that takes in all of the 5 cities, Atascadero, Paso Robles, all that good stuff. So,
yeah,
homeboy made it real big.
Well, that's the last I checked. It said 2015 he was appointed, so I'm guessing he's still
I
around.
hope so. So that's the state historic part 2, and then
It's funny. Before when you're talking about the grass, they stand back. He says, "Oh, so the grass didn't trigger my memory or trigger my thought about the town. It was actually the same spot, though." He looked and says, "Oh, this is a great spot. You can see all the preserved things."
Yeah.
And this is how it would have looked, X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
And I said, "Oh, that's what initially got us talking about it."
And okay. Then there's more of that kind of talk in part 3, which is where we're going now. The town.
Now, the third aspect of San Juan Bautista is the town itself. And here to talk with us a little bit about the town is Leonard Catano, who is born and raised here, right?
That's correct.
Well, tell us a little bit about this place, because looking at it, has it always been this way?
It's been this way. There's a few new buildings and a few improvements and a few restorations, but basically it's always been this way. And hopefully this part of the town will always remain this way.
All right, so Leonard Caetano, not Catano. I thought it was Caetano because there's a Brazilian musician, Caetano Veloso, I've always known about. Longtime resident, talks about the towny feel, and is basically giving Huell his own personal little tour of the old buildings. I mean, this flows right into kind of like the first thing the last thing he said at the end of the clip. We hope it always stays this way.
Yeah.
Now, this is like seeing the town itself and this kind of old westy feel of the big main drag. So many of the towns in Northern California, especially in Gold Country, were like this, where there's like Placerville, for example, where I stayed for a couple days. There's a Home Depot, but there's also this super authentic feeling downtown area where when you're driving, you're like, holy cow, this is really old-time California gold rush feel. But it's like an artisan cheese shop and like a baby boutique. So ground floor retail of the times, but they maintain the buildings themselves. It doesn't look like San Juan did that.
Mm-mm.
The bakery is popular.
Right. But it's always like one-off things, right? It's sort of, like I said, however you feel about it, but it seems like the town will die with them, the old generation. So, or maybe not. Maybe something will happen, but...
Well, I kind of got to disagree with you.
Okay.
Because they seem to kind of be engendering their next generation with this mindset.
Okay.
We'll get into that in a second.
Yeah.
Because we'll go through all of downtown San Juan Bautista with good old Leonard, who definitely is taking a page out of the book of my grandpa's dress code. Basically, it is just this tour, and there's like it almost feels like a tourist video in a way. It was weird. I think Huell really loved this place because he seemed to have sort of maybe the opposite opinion of us. You think maybe?
I think so.
Saving things for saving's sake. Because so many episodes of this show do feature things of, historic value, but not the growth of, well, sometimes, but more this than the other. I think, what do you think of old Leonard as far as his opinion? I mean,
I think he feels strongly. Yeah, he feels strongly about having it not change.
I wonder why, because he's lived here for 70 some odd years. Born and raised boy of this town of 2,000 people. What was his skin in the game? I was wondering.
I mean, I guess to me, he doesn't have any. I guess that's kind of, unless the historical value is the skin in the game. You know what I mean?
Well, it almost doesn't make sense because when we find out what his profession was.
Right.
Because we run into,
what
was her name? I don't remember. Realtor lady.
Well, this actually does.
I wrote down.
First we get to see an old house, an old residence. What was it? The Native Daughters.
Native Daughters of the Golden West. Adobe.
Uh-huh. And we get to see the house. And how does he describe it? Well, it's past state when it was run down.
Before the Native Daughters came in, it was dilapidated.
Yeah, that's right.
Sorry, Letty. It was too good not to say.
But, so we hear that they are, I think she says realtors. There's no A between that, but realtors.
Like Bellator. Yeah, Huell does a little walk and talk, runs into this lady who's holding a dog who's named Bentley, the town dog. And the lady mentions that her and Leonard are the town's best or only realtors. And Leonard kind of tries to laugh it off, but what did she say? Like they sell stuff.
It's funny you say that because I didn't catch that he was a realtor.
Yeah.
I thought it was that he's trying to preserve things, but she's trying to sell things, so they're rivals. That's how I initially took it, maybe because I was in the mindset of thinking about the other stuff and I wasn't paying close attention. But that makes perfect sense. That's why you asked your skin in the game question. That's why that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So, okay.
She said that they sell stuff, but they keep it really quiet. Almost like they're having to do backdoor deals because the town is so up in arms about selling and progress.
Right.
It's weird. It's a weird feel for this episode. This definitely seems like a place that would appeal to Huell, and it's cool that it exists. Because, I mean, honestly, we have a lot of towns and cities in this state. It's not like we need all of them to progress.
It's true. But I think only 94% of California is undeveloped.
Yeah.
It's one of those interesting things. I forget some number like that.
But you can tell they take it seriously in the last couple minutes of the show because there's this old blacksmith shop with ladies weaving cotton and stuff. Well, this seemed to just be happening.
Right.
It didn't seem like it was a special day.
They just can just do this?
They just dress up in old-timey clothes and weave some threads. And then we hear from probably the youngest old man, little kid I've ever heard, and definitely cutesy moment of the week.
For sure. And the way he sounded, I thought he was going to say, apparently.
Okay, I cut the clip out. So let's just listen to him because it's so funny. Hold on. Listen to this kid.
Well, what do the boys think about it? Boys, what do you think about San Juan Bautista?
I think that when I grow up and move out of the house, I don't think I should move away. I think I should stay here in San Juan.
Stay right here in San Juan Bautista?
Yeah.
Why?
It's a nice little place to live. There's no crime or anything bad here. It's just a nice little place to live.
He's quite a little ambassador, isn't he?
There's so many things in this clip that you can take two ways.
Well, firstly, does he have an accent?
Totally. I can't tell what, though. He sounds like French and Spanish at the same time.
Maybe he's Basque.
Oh.
So for me, this is what I heard at 26:18.
Yeah.
I heard, Huell says, why?
Yeah, it's so funny. Like the kid's, he's like 5 years old.
Is it because there's no crime or anything? Bad carrots?
Yeah.
That's what I heard. What did you?
I mean, once you said that, I can't not hear it. But it sounds like he says, "There's no crime. There's nothing bad here. It's a nice little place to live."
Oh, he just slams "it's" into
and that Basque accent, I guess. Definitely worth looking at this kid, because seeing him with his little like pony stick thing he's got in his tiny little period clothing, it's such a trip.
We forgot before we go.
Yes,
this is what sends us on our way into the next episode next week. We forgot to talk about the bell.
I didn't forget. I just think it's
a funny part of history.
Mm-hmm. Because there was that little tiny point when they go in the cemetery and there's a gravestone that's a bell.
It's a bell. You know, like I'll just tell this quick story.
Do it.
How did it get here? This is old JR. How did JR? Why does he have a headstone? That's an entire bell.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, he got did a little too much drinky
Whoops.
one night and started slamming on it with a hammer. He shlamied the bell, cracked it. City made him buy it. Said, "I will only buy it if it's my headstone when I die." And now it's the headstone.
And he did,
which is by far my favorite piece of history from the
area. That's a
so.
stubborn, drunky guy. But that's San Juan Bautista. It's there. It's definitely historic. It's not changing. If Leonard and Bentley's owner has anything to say about it, so I'm definitely curious to go there, because I also want to go to all the missions.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But
I used to drive on the 152, like right above it,
all the time.
I used to drive to San Jose State.
Mm-hmm. One of these days we'll make it. And if you have been there, let us know what you thought about it. We definitely want to hear more about what people think about these places that we talk about. So hit us up on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, email, huellsgold@gmail.com. We're everywhere.
Or you can write a letter to P.O. Box. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no. Like I'm going to pay for a P.O. Box.
Wow.
They're expensive. I had no idea they were so expensive. Because when I got a package stolen on my front porch, I thought, got to get the P.O. Box like an old man. Didn't.
I know. Even the tiny guy was...
Yeah.
Whatever.
Couldn't do it. So where are we going next week?
I have no idea. Where are we going?
We're island living again. We're going to... what the heck one is that? San Miguel Island?
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Hold on. I really do have to look this up. It's been a long day. Santa Rosa Island. Totally wrong. Santa Rosa Island. There's a lot going on in that sort of psych. There's not much going on. In fact, most of the island is uninhabited except for one ranch family. They are some characters. And TBH, don't be surprised if maybe we do another twofer, because that is a pretty small story. And then the next week after that, the Japanese tea gardens in San Francisco, also small, but we might have a guest or two on.
So if we do a twofer, though, we're going to have the guest on the twofer?
Hey.
It is what it is, right?
It is what, I mean, what we had Monica talking about SciCon, but she had to talk about the governor's mansion,
That's
too.
true. Okay,
so,
yeah, let's do it.
Hey, if you're our friend, you're going to have to do this show eventually. And whether you like it or not, you're going to be talking about something you probably never thought you'd be talking about. Story of our lives with this show, though.
We're still going to get Kathleen on the In and Out episode.
And actually, I was going to talk about this off mic, but I'll just bring it up now to lock her in, to have to force her to do it. That Mount San Jacinto one is coming up soon.
Oh, is it? Okay.
And she's been there, right?
Yeah.
She did that whole, like, it's not a zip line, but the gondola thing to go up there.
She went to the community college, too.
Exactly. So she's got to go on that one.
She's in deep.
Mm-hmm. She's got skin in the game, to use that term again. Anyway, I guess, we got a twofer. It's a long episode, but you got a 2-for-1 deal. Take it or leave it. What do you want me to say?
Like I said, it is.
My house flooded yesterday. It's fixed, though. We're all good. All dry.
All right. Let's get out of here.
Finally. So come along with us next week and every week.
So we continue our search for...
Huell's Gold.